I'm Kirsten Peck. I am the author and teacher of the book called Betrayed by Trump. It is a guide for self-discovery of the rewards of a positive mindset. So I wrote the book about a year ago. I was teaching and realized that the betrayal was in progress. And MAGA politics, while it might not be my particular party, it is a major part of the American political scene. And so as a historian and as a political junkie, I love following politics. I put together a plan for what we could be doing after MAGA. So I have to admit it, there were things that happened in the very beginning which shut me down. And that's part of what we're going to talk about in this workshop that I'm having every week here online, because we have to learn how to speak to each other again with respect and with truth. And we have to have some difficult conversations because there's a lot of division between us. A lot of families have been broken apart. Mine has. And I made decisions 10 years ago that I have had to rethink and readjust because I know now that they were not correct. And it's very difficult for a person to check themselves and admit that they made a mistake. That's hard. And it's really hard the longer it goes on. And the more people that are involved and the more people that know all about your situation. And so that's why we're here. I'm offering a calm political discussion without finger pointing, without yelling at each other, and without drama, basically, because we're all tired of the drama. I know I am. And so that's a big reason, again, to kind of check ourselves and come back into a safe place where we can talk. So I'm having this at night because we had to have some private conversations. And I really am encouraging people to go outside of their houses at night, in the middle of the night, the later the better. Because all of the crazy energy of the day is settled at night. It's calm, it's cool, and you can hear the bugs and you can see the stars. And it's really a good way for a person to step out and take a moment to think about what are you really doing with yourself? What are you really doing in your community? And what do you really want the country and the world to look like? Because it's up to us. We are the ones in charge. So my MAGA countdown here, I'm on week 16 because I mashed up every piece of information that I know, all of my teacher tricks to get students' attention and to captivate them out of that box that they're in. And so this is the MAGA Exit Countdown. And yes, week 16. So catching everybody up on deck here, I don't mean to be starting out so seriously all the time, but I am trying to have this new, calm, political conversation. And I have some mosquitoes flying around. I live out here. I live up in the beautiful part of the country in Puerto Rico. And for some reason, I've gotten mosquitoes, just have taken over. I don't know why. I haven't had any rain. I don't know where they've come from. But it's a funny little problem that you have to then keep trying to resolve. And so kind of like my MAGA problem here, I'm trying to pick at the little pieces of it here so that we can start getting some momentum going. We need to get some energy flowing. And it's scary when you're hurting and when you're unsure of the situation. It's frightening. And so it takes a little bit of encouragement and small steps of success in order to feel like you can start running a little bit faster, okay? So I just want to make sure first that a good teacher always checks on the background knowledge and on the temperature of the room, which is what I'm doing, okay? So as you've been here, I hope you've been following along. If not, I want to do a little introduction here. I have created something I'm calling the MAGA Compass. It is a private and anonymous test online that you can check yourself to see if you are feeling like this is a betrayal and you are concerned about your relationship in MAGA and what are you going to be doing in November because the elections are coming. The midterms are coming. So the MAGA Compass, like I said, it is a values test, really just stress testing yourself. Are you still comfortable with the situation of what's happening? Or have you decided, no, that's too much, I have to figure out what to do, okay? Second thing, the Focus to Pivot course is over on the channel. It has all the information. We put 6 episodes together so that you could get the running training program started. Okay, you'll know exactly everything I'm talking about. So go get those details and then come back here or come back next Tuesday for the watch party or Sunday mornings. I'm starting a Sunday morning report. So that's kind of fun. Okay, next thing, you are keeping your receipts. I empowered you and told you to go get a notebook and start keeping track of the information that's coming in, because it comes in fast and furious, okay? We started following the money back in the beginning of that, just like an accountant keeping the receipts. Last week, we talked about the loyalty trap and how that hat is gonna have to come off your head. But we're gonna talk about that. You've got 16 weeks to get that comfort level figured out about what you're gonna do. So tonight, again, this is just things to consider and think about. I want to give you new information and hopefully get some ideas flowing, okay? Finally, the last piece of that was that this week I've produced a series of videos about corruption and money in government. It's called Know the Plays, and every episode breaks down one historical time period and the leader that used money to get his way and then what happened afterwards. And then the question is to you, okay, what can you learn from that situation? So tonight, let's now kick this off. All right, let me open up my book. Here's my receipt book. I'm keeping a file folder and I'm putting in the notes as we go, okay? And I have been taking track here. Let me check the notes. I have been keeping track of comments of people that have been made online. And I do a lot of research, keyword research, keeping up with these trends every day. And so I am interested in your information. Please comment, subscribe, share, all of these things, okay? Because I need to get people coming to my watch party. Awesome. Okay, so tonight, this is the big lie told small and repeated over and over and over. Okay, that's it. That's the lie. That's what they do. They start something very little. It wouldn't even really be a thing. But then it gets repeated and repeated and repeated. It gets ramped up and amplified like it's amplifying on a stereo. Okay? So the one that I want to talk about is that got me so upset originally. The big lie was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. The big lie said, President Trump said that there were caravans of people and children that were being sent attacking the border. Children are being sent to attack the border. Okay. When I heard that little lie, It was during the time of a lot of immigration. A lot of migrants were exiting out of Africa and up and around into Europe. The Arab Spring was happening, if you will. Some of the governments were being thrown over in the Middle East because there was an awakening of people moving around. It is also climate-based because the droughts and the earth is hot and changing. And people need to make money, need to have stability. Everyone wants a good life. That's a basic common need. And we think about, let me go up with Moses out in the desert for 40 years, wandering around trying to find the best place to be. So this story 10 years ago was then ramped up and multiplied, and fear stoked. Fear. It made me so angry. It made me just never want to listen to anything. I shunned everybody. I shut it down. That's the biggest, dumbest lie I've ever heard in my life. We are a nation of immigrants. So how could we be saying that some immigrants are good and some immigrants are bad? That's not America. That's not America. And so years goes by, and even 2 years ago, he brought it up again and he says they're eating the pets. Yes, now all of these evil, crazy immigrant people are stealing eating dogs, eating cats. They're killing the dogs. That's so hateful. It's such a lie. It's such a lie. And the part that just gets me is that within minutes, it becomes the people in Ohio were saying, no, this isn't happening. That's a lie. The mayor of the town came out and said, no, that's not true. That's a lie. But it just keeps going around and around and around. And I don't know any way to stop it, except by kind of saying and peeling this out now. Aren't you tired of this? Don't you see how you're hurting yourself? Please explain this to me. I want someone to explain to me how that's okay. Because we're a nation of immigrants. Look at it again. No messages. It's okay. All right. So here's another piece. Let me take this from another direction. Okay. Wave my magic wand. Woo-hoo, magic wand. Let me take this from another direction. Okay. In art, I'm going to talk about something with art. In art, there's something called perspective. When you go from something being 2D, it's very shallow and flat, compared to it being 3D when it has dimension and a focal point. Okay? And I'll even add on to that one, it can go 4D, really 4D, if you add time, the past and the present, or the structure of the universe. So when you start talking about big universal things, that could be compared and said that that's like a fourth dimension. Okay? Each one of those requires more thinking. Each one of them requires more time and consideration. Okay? Obviously. Okay, let me continue on with this. Because in the same way that perspective can go from something very shallow to something with more dimension and then really super deep universally, same thing happens with our opinions and points of view. So if you have your point of view, that is your genuine, just surface level reaction. You yourself, that's your opinion, right? If you think a little bit further and you add in a little bit more information, You add in directions as to which way you're going to go. You're either going to be for it or you're going to be against it. You're changing your opinion into more of a decision. So what about it? You're making a decision. And then if you really start to ramp up your thinking even higher, you get to drawing conclusions and making inferences and hypothesizing and coming up with really big ideas, because you're processing the information, you're talking with multiple sources and time, and putting it into something much more significant. That are big conclusions. Okay? So it is going to take time for people to just go from that initial opinion that they heard something and they're going to react, to then going a little bit deeper, thinking a little bit more. Is that true? Could I verify that? Why would they be telling me that? Who's going to benefit if that's a lie? All of those kinds of questions that you start asking yourself will help you think clearer and make better decisions, because you're not just going to be off the surface. You're going to take time to think about it. And so that's really where I'm at this week, now that we're at week 16. Week 16. I brought back up, now that we've kind of talked a little bit more about this idea of hero thinking, because it is going to take confidence, and it is going to take ambition, and it is going to take effort to think our way out of this situation. We're going to have to think more critically and more creatively. So the steps in here, this is the steps, this is the practice. I'm kind of practicing our way through this tonight, because I hear from the news and I see in the notes that the Iran conflict is back. And I wanted to take a minute. I updated and cleaned my list of my civics lesson, and wanted to present it a little bit cleaner tonight. And so let me just take a second to pull this up, okay? We're just going to look here at the topic here. Okay, someone here, somebody's saying that they can't see it. We can't explain it. Okay, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to explain this. And it says here, someone says that people are very racist and fascist, worse than Hitler. And so, yes, this is a quality check, people. Are you that racist? Are you that evil? Because you've been told a lot of things that may not be true. Let me bring this over here a second. Here's my code. Resources for you to go look at. Awesome. Because you were told things that were not true. You have been manipulated. You have been scammed. And it's going to be very difficult for people to admit it, acknowledge it, and say, yeah, I was scammed, but I am not racist, and I am not going to vote for MAGA anymore. I'm taking off the hat. This is the MAGA Exit Countdown. So in this here, back to my facts here, I'm showing you this because this simple frame here can be done with any issue that you want to talk about. Any particular situation that is happening, any issue, set it up in this structure. What is this? What? And run through it. Okay? So the issue Is MAGA betraying you and everyone in the United States? We are talking about the facts. The event is the Iran military action. The nature of it, what is the circumstances, what's involved? Yes, the money. It is affecting the global economy. It is unauthorized by Congress. And yes, these quality of the results. Loss of alliances, NATO, Canada, Mexico. The list goes on and on. And so I'm going to propose an action. I would like everyone, please go take the Focus to Pivot course so you know what I'm talking about. Get my book on Amazon. We have to share this with everybody. We have to share. Share me. I want to be shared. All right, let me bring this back up here so I can see myself. Can I? Am I here? I think I'm here. I think so. Okay. Awesome. Now, back to my notes. We ran through my civics lesson because that is the template that I want you to use when you go talk to your friends and family. Okay? The action. I am encouraging you to take notes, make lists, be the documentarian secretary of your life, okay? Check media bias. You know, certain websites are very biased and only tell you what they want you to know. They're only going to say it their way. And when you listen to that echo chamber, that's the only thing you're ever going to hear. And you're getting half the information. So shake that up. Check different sources. Also, fact check. Yes, the fact checking. Facts are facts. They can be proven as true. Okay. Stop sharing questionable information. Stop passing around all those lies. That is how come I unfriended my family. I couldn't handle how they were spreading the bad information. And they wouldn't talk to me about it because they were so excited to be wound up in the party. We have to figure this out. Check your propaganda, call it out. If somebody says something that's wrong, it's time to start standing up and saying, where did you get that information from? I'm curious, can you tell me where that came from? If you take that kind of an approach with it, if you're genuinely asking them for more information, it's not threatening. And you're likely to get farther in the conversation, okay? And yes, we have to talk because we are a nation of immigrants. We are. Most all of us came one way or another by immigration. Well, almost everybody. Think about that. And so the due process and the rule of law is something that is established. It's written down. It has proven to work for 250 years. Yes, it has problems. Yes, we can fix things. Nothing is perfect, but that doesn't mean it needs to be destroyed. It means we need to talk to each other and negotiate how to fix it. Civil rights, those are defined. They exist. Honor them. In the same way, the election process has to be free and fair. And if they're going to start trying to rig the election before we even have the election so that then they can cry about rigging the election after the election and the rigging of the election, it's making my head hurt. You have 16 weeks to figure this out. So debate, yes, let's talk. I love debate. I love it. I absolutely love it. There's a process. There's rules. It's respect. It's truth. And it's the way to negotiate and solve problems for 2,000 years. So let's do it, okay? Right, here's how this is gonna work. I'm on now. I got to the back of my, built into my train. Yes, okay. This week, coming up this week, there's fallout happening over Iran, which is why I had to run through the Iran question again. And there's fallout happening up in Michigan about voting and drawing districting lines, and that the protections of the Constitution we need to maintain. And so I'm asking you now on my exit, can you please be responsible and accountable for what you do, you yourself? And can you start to separate out, as we're working your notes and you're observing these things, start separating out what you do and what everybody else does. And the timeline, the cause and the effect is related to a timeline. So the sequence of things matters, because then it's the cause and the effect. And what I'm afraid is happening is that we're having the wrong effects because we're not following the right causes. We're not putting two and two together. So we have to straighten this out. And the last piece of this from my English class is to know your different types of conflicts. There's 3 kinds of conflicts. There's only 3. The first one is this internal conflict. You and yourself. What do you say to yourself? What are you thinking about yourself? Where are you with your self-happiness and being calm and settled and happy and resolved? No conflicts. So if your MAGA values are causing you some issues, that's why I'm here, okay? And the second kind of conflict is with other people. And so, yes, this is when it gets back to being the cause and effect. Who said what came first, all of those kinds of things about negotiating, finding common ground, and making peace to resolve a conflict, not just blowing them up. I don't think that's the solution, okay? And the third kind of conflict is between the universe. And to know when there's things going on in the universe that you cannot control, okay? That actually was my college graduation. Well, my whole college graduation speech. There it is. Know what you can control, know what you cannot control, and take charge. So that's that. That's that. That's why I'm here. Okay. Seems so simple. I don't know how it gets so confused. I do know how. It's a bunch of manipulation. It's a bunch of fear. It's a bunch of anxiety. And it's a lot of things that are just imagination. It's swirling in the air. So thank you for listening and for trying to help me figure this out. I'm genuinely concerned. I'm really concerned because we have to find a solution. And I don't see one. I don't see one. I don't like any of the candidates myself. I don't know what I'm voting for in 16 weeks. 16 weeks. So it's time to talk to your neighbors. It's time to start looking really closely at your local candidates, at your local school board, at your local level, your mayor, your county commissioners, the governor. Yeah, the governor, that's a big one. The lieutenant governor, the people who are responsible for making the best decisions for all of us. It's the goal. That's the goal. Okay? So that's my MAGA Exit Countdown, episode 16. Go take the Focus to Pivot course. Come back next Tuesday night. I need more people here. And check me on Sunday morning. I'm going to go deeper into the politics and into my gang theory, because I believe that MAGA is a gang, and we have to do the exit strategy. So that's on Sunday, and I'm here in my weekly series. This is the MAGA Exit Countdown. I did it. I did it. All right. Let me put my hat on. Okay, I made a new hat. I have a new hat. I have a new hat because I know that it's going to be hard to take off the hat. I know it's going to be hard to step away from some people that you think are your friends. And hopefully, when you're able to have those quiet conversations with your friends at night, outside, talk, I bet they'll come along with you. That's what the Declaration of Independence did. They got all the people together at home before, and they talked about it, and they negotiated what that declaration needed to say. And on the day that they came in to sign it, they read it, they signed it. 56 people signed on the line, and they knew that was going to be their head from the king. They knew that, but they did it anyway. They did it together. They did it together. So that's where I'm at. That's me. Because the immigrants are my friends. We're all immigrants. And I'm living out here on an island being an immigrant and getting this whole experience. And it's hard. It's really hard to be an immigrant. So thank you for considering all of this information. Thank you for sharing it. Please, please share with everybody and come back. All right, 16 weeks to voting. Tuesday, 16 weeks, countdown. Let's go. All right, bye. Love you. Thank you. Bye.